How's it going, everyone? My name is Daniel, also known as I Am Skills, and thank you for clicking on today's video, and also welcome back. Today, I got another build for you guys. Today, we're going to be taking another look at the Void Warlock. This is completely different. This time, we're not going to be focusing on the Controverse Holds Exotic. I'm pretty sure a lot of you already know about that specific Void Warlock build. If you haven't seen that, I have one on my channel that I made a few months ago. Be sure to go check that out, and then you guys can come back and watch this one. But today, we're going to be focusing on the brand new Warlock Exotic Gauntlets called the Briarbinds, and this exotic alone just makes the Void Warlock so much fun. I wouldn't, in my opinion, I wouldn't say it's better than Controverse Holds, but it is definitely so much fun, especially if you are a Warlock main and you love to play the Void Walker subclass. I think this video will be perfect for you. As you guys can see with the gameplay going on in the background, there's a lot of stuff happening, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how you can make this build. So be sure to follow me step by step. I'll also have the dim links down below in the descriptions like always, so you guys can go ahead and apply that build to your loadouts immediately. But if you do end up watching today's video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I upload Destiny videos pretty much all the time. We're going to be trying something else a little bit different. Without any further ado, guys, let's just hop straight into today's video. So like always with our videos, we always start off with the subclass tree in itself. So be sure to follow along with me. The first thing that we're going to have for our abilities is our Healing Rift. You guys already know what Healing Rift does. I don't have to explain it, but Healing Rift is very powerful, very good. Every Warlock uses it. For my jump, I use Burst Glide. This is my personal favorite glide because you have a initial burst of speed as soon as you start moving. And in my opinion, I think this might be the best jump, but you might have something else entirely different. So it's entirely up to you. And we're going to go over to the melee right here. Pocket Singularity. This is the only Void Warlock melee. And here we're on the grenades. My personal favorite grenade is Vortex Grenade. Vortex Grenade is the best grenade that you can use for a Void subclass in general. Very powerful. It pulls enemies in and it just continuously damages them over and over again. So be sure to have Vortex Grenade on. Now moving on to our aspects. The first aspect we'll use is Feed the Void. This is for our healing. We want Devour since we're going to be getting a ton of kills. A lot of stuff is going to be going on and we're going to be constantly healing every single time as long as we can keep Devour up. Now Devour lasts for I believe maybe 7, but there is a fragment that increases the timer on that to like 13 or 15. I'm not entirely sure, but be sure to have Devour on, Feed the Void, because this subclass, this aspect alone is going to be what allows you to survive in pretty much all situations. And for our second fragment, this is pretty much the most important one to have for this build. It's called Child of the Ogas, as you guys can see on the screen. Basically, when you cast your Rift, it creates a Void Soul, and when you shoot enemies with that Void Soul, it will completely weaken them, which means that you'll be able to do more damage to them. And as they're getting drained by that little Void Orb thing, you'll get grenade and melee energy, depending on if you're running Healing Rift or Empowering Rift. And this with the gauntlets is absolutely amazing. You guys seen from the beginning of the gameplay, you could literally probably, if you're efficient enough, you could shoot off maybe like 5 of these in a row or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but I was able to at least shoot off like 3 of them. But just imagine having 3 of these off, just completely draining everything all around. And it's so visually pleasing, and so I have no words. But let's move on to the fragments now. So for the first fragment right here, I'm using the Echo of Instability, probably a staple Void fragment to use for pretty much every Void build out there. If you kill people with your grenade, you're gonna get volatile rounds to your Void weapons, and you know there's Void weapons out there that are super good. Commemoration, that one specifically, you get volatile rounds on that, and you're gonna be going to town. I can guarantee you that. For the second fragment, I'm using the Echo of Remnants. This is just for my grenade to last long. The Vortex Grenade lasts maybe 5 or 6 seconds before it disappears. Normally, I believe it's like 3 seconds, but this is super good to have just in case you're dealing with an enemy that's a little bit more chunky in the HP. You want to be able to, you know, tank his HP a little bit more so that you could completely destroy him. And then moving on to our third fragment, we're using the Echo of Harvest, where defeating weakening targets creates an orb of power and a Void Breach. Since our Child of the Ogas is going to be weakening targets, we're going to be able to create Void Breaches, and we're going to be able to create orbs of power since we're going to kill them. And you guys will see once we get into the class armor mods, we're going to see exactly how that synergizes with this fragment alone. And let's move on to the next one. And then for the final one, we have the Echo of Expulsion, where Void Ability Final Blow causes targets to explode. Now, since we're done with the subclass tree itself, now we're going to move on to the artifact mods, and then we're going to get into the class armor and as well as the weapons. Here we are on the mod customization screens for my Warlock. and I'm going to show you guys the artifact mods that I'm using specifically. Right now I have Elemental Orbs Void. This artifact mod basically creates a little void orb every time you get a kill with a void weapon, or not every time, I should say. It has a chance every time you get a kill with a void weapon to spawn a void elemental orb, and when you pick up these orbs and you throw them, it makes enemies volatile, which is super good. Volatile, once an enemy becomes volatile and you shoot them, they just chain volatile to another enemy, and it just causes like a little chain reaction going off and off and off and off. Super good to have on. You're going to be making enemies volatile anyway, so this just adds on to that and makes you even more efficient in what you're doing. When an ally destroys or picks up a tangle or elemental orb, it reduces the tangle cooldown by 5 seconds, and you gain a bonus damage with weapons matching your subclass for 10 seconds. I believe this is not just for this is just free damage right here that you can have, especially if you're using a weapon that matches your subclass. So be sure to have this on as well. And then right here, I'm using Monochromatic Maestro for the next artifact perk. This artifact perk is super good. If you're using a matching subclass and matching weapons, you just get free 10% damage for 5 seconds. You could synergize with this and have this up pretty much all the time, as long as you're getting kills and, you know, going to town on the enemies out here. And then finally, I have Rapid Precision Hits against distant combatants, weakens them for a short duration. I was using this for like a GM. You don't really need this. You could probably switch it out for this artifact perk here in itself. Before we get into the armor mods, I want to tell you guys right now, be sure to have these gauntlets on, the Briarbinds. This is essentially what makes the build. This is a brand new exotic gauntlets for the Warlock that came out, I believe, during this season. For those of you that do not know how to get this, you get this from the Lost Sector whenever it is the daily rotation. If it's either gauntlets, complete the Lost Sector and you will have a chance to get this depending on your collections for exotics armor in general for your Warlock. Or you could do the Vex Incursion Zone, and that will give you an exotic that you do not have in your collection yet. So if you are missing this, be sure to do either the Lost Sector or do the Vex Incursion Zone so that you'll be able to get this gauntlets essentially. As you guys can see what the description says for this exotic, where your void souls have a longer duration, they also gain escalating damage and durability as they defeat targets, and you could literally retrieve them, which means you can deploy them a lot, and you could literally stack this with more void souls. So you could probably have, the most I've had is like 3 up, but I'm not sure if you can have like maybe 5 or something like that. But if you're really efficient with slaying ass, you could have a lot of these up and you'll just be draining everything. You'll probably have like infinite grenades. I'm not even joking. That's how crazy this shit is. Now let's go back and see the armor mod specifically. So here we're going to be taking a look at my helmet. I have on a recovery mod. I am a recovery and discipline build for the Warlock, as well as Rezeal. Essentially, I have a recovery because recovery is good for Warlock. Rezeal is also very important as well, because you want to be able to survive a lot more, and discipline for Warlocks is absolutely a must. You don't need 100, guys. You could probably get like 60, 70, 80, 90 or 100 around that ballpark will be very good, and it still works. But here we have a recovery mod, and I have a harmonic siphon where rapid void final blows creates an orb of power. Since I'm using double void weapons, I'm going to be creating orbs of power, actually being able to have a lot more up and get my super back a lot quicker, as well as reducing cooldowns on some of my abilities, so that I could be able to be more efficient in what I'm doing. And then for the final one, I have Ashes to Assets, where I gain bonus super energy on grenade kills. I'm gonna have my grenades up pretty much a lot, and I'm gonna be able to throw them some more and more, and I'm gonna be creating tons and tons of super energy for myself. And now we're gonna move on to the gauntlets. I have a Rezo mod here, and I'm using double of these right here, where I gain class ability energy every time I damage a target with my grenade. This essentially allows me to spam my rift so I could create more of those void orbs and just shoot them out at enemies and just continuously drain and weaken everything in the vicinity. And then I have fastball just to increase my grenade throw distance. And then moving on to the chest armor, I have a recovery mod here, and I'm using concussive dampener as well as charged up. I will probably throw on like another resistance mod, maybe arc, because there's a ton of arc stuff out there, or you could use maybe like a sniper damage resistance, depending on what type of activity that you're doing. So be sure to switch some of this out depending on your play style. You don't have to use exactly what I have here, but just experiment and see exactly what works for you. And then moving on to my leg armor, I have a recovery mod here. I'm using insulation. Every time I pick up an orb of power, it reduces my class ability. Like I said, again, we're going to be spamming class ability to make more and more of those void orbs, and just constantly be draining enemies and just refilling our grenades, melees, all that. It's like a formula. Like one thing leads to another, you know what I mean? So be sure to have this on. Then I have Void Weapon Surge, because hey, more damage is better. More damage is better. We love more damage. We love to be able to do more damage, especially in Destiny. So be sure to have Void Weapon Surge on. And then right here I have Innervation, where it reduces my grenade cooldown each time I pick up an orb power. We have 2 different ones. This where I reduce my grenade when I pick up an orbit power, and then this where I reduce my class ability energy when I pick up an orbit power, so that we could be able to, you know, like I say, continue what we're doing. And then finally here, we're on my Warlock bond. I have on a Discipline mod, Recovery Forge. This is Artifice armor. For those of you that don't know how to get Artifice, it comes from the Master Dungeons, especially if they're the weekly rotation. Be sure to do that, and you could possibly get a bond, or depending on your class, whatever your class item is, you can get one of those. And then I'm using Bomber, where I reduce my grenade cooldown every time I use my class ability. Like I said earlier, you guys already know, I have Powerful Attraction. When I cast my class ability energy, I'm gonna pick up all the orbs that's in the vicinity, reducing a lot of the cooldowns, since pretty much orbs of power helps us with those specifically. And then I have Utility Kickstart. Basically, as soon as I expend my class ability energy, I get like 25% of it back. Super good to have on. We're pretty much done with all that, so we're gonna head on to the weapons now, and let's take a look. So here we are on my weapons. Now, this specific build right here is not for endgame. It's mostly for like regular content in Destiny 2, just so you could be able to slay out and go to town on enemies. But it does work for endgame. You will just have to switch some of your weapons up and not use what I have here essentially. But this is just a little fun build for those of you out there who just want to kick back, relax, and just completely turn your brain off and just go to town on enemies in this game. I have the New Pacific Epitaph. This is a grenade launcher that comes from the Ghost of the Deep dungeon. I have Demolitionist as well as Pugilist on it. You don't have to have this specifically. You could probably switch this out for maybe like auto rifle or something else. It's entirely up to you. If you really want to have fun with this build, guys, you're gonna need to get your hands on this, the Collective Obligation. This is basically the exotic that comes from the Valve the Disciple raid, and with this exotic, it makes this build so much more fun because of what the exotic intrinsic perk does, and it really makes you feel like you're a true Reaper of Death. And then moving on to the heavy, the Commemoration, the best legendary heavy in my personal opinion. The moment you get volatile rounds on this thing, you're going to town. You'll literally feel like you won't run out of ammo because of some of the perks that it has. Subsistence, killing tally, pretty awesome. So be sure to get your hands on this. Like I said, you don't have to run pretty much everything that I'm running right here. If you feel like changing some of these things up, be sure to do that. This is just what I have on personally. If you're trying to use this build for endgame, be sure to switch up the weapons that you have depending on the champions that they are, so that you could be helpful to your team. And pretty much that's it. And with that being all said and done, that brings us to the end of today's video. If you guys did enjoy that, please drop a like. Please consider hitting the subscribe button on the channel. We upload Destiny 2 build videos all the time on here. We're going to be trying out some other things. Marvel Spider-Man 2 comes out on Friday. I'm going to be doing a let's play of that on the channel. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know in the comment sections below. Be sure to check out my other build videos once you see the end card at the end of today's video. We have some pretty nasty builds. I got 2 that I got to drop this week for you guys, and then you guys are gonna like those 2. My next 2 builds are gonna be specifically for endgame, so you guys are interested in that, let me know in the comment section below. Guys, we're closing in on 700 subscribers. We literally just hit 600 like a few days ago, which is absolutely insane. The support has been amazing. Shout out to all of y'all who are hitting that subscribe button and that like button as well. You guys are the absolute best, and I really do appreciate every single one of you. All right, guys, I'm gonna get on up out of here. It's been your boy Skills, and I'm out. Peace.